Hi everybody, Cheryl and Lady coming to you from the Ladies Garden and Home, and today I thought I would show you how I keep my garden journal. So I hope you join us. This is my fourth video in my How to Plant a Garden series this year. The first one was a look back on 2023. Then the second one was my gardening goals. And then the third one was how I plan out the layout of my garden using a software, the Farmer's Almanac Garden Planner. And today I thought I would take you through how I keep my journal, which is a little bit different than I think what most people do. This is what works for me, and I think it's pretty simple. And it's a little bit more intuitive for me than just, say, like having a notebook where I just write notes throughout the growing season. And it's a little bit different than just using a calendar where you mark dates by day. So every year, to figure out your planting calendar, when you need to sow your seeds, you either look at the packet of seeds. For example, this artichokes, oops, wrong glasses. So in order to know when you need to sow your seeds, whether you're going to sow them directly outside or you're going to sow them inside to give them a little bit of a head start and warmth, you either look at the seed packet, and this one says, cold stratify the seeds for 2 weeks prior to germination, start indoors 8 to 12 weeks before the last frost, and that the seedlings benefit from 10 to 12 days of temperature under 50 degrees once established, vernalization to encourage budding. That's a lot of dates on one single package. And then I went onto the Farmer's Almanac Garden Planner software, and I put in all of the plants that I wanted to grow, and it gives me this list of the plants, and it gives me graphs of when I should sow inside, when I should plant it out, and then the orange is when I should expect to harvest it. Okay, well that made things easier. So Sunday night, when I was putting my notes into the software and I was figuring out what to do the coming week, I would go through this and I would say, oh, this is the week I have to do this. This is the week I have to sow inside the alyssum, beets, whatever, okay? You get the idea. And I would write down week by week what was time to sow inside the house, what was time to put outside in the garden. And then this would be a working list. So I would write down when I harvested something. I would write down when I weeded. I would write down when I watered. I would write down the temperatures, highs and lows. And that was great information. And in 2020, when I was done with the week, I just tossed it. Well, that was a little silly. So in 2021, when I was doing my planning, I decided I better hold on to these sticky notes so I don't have to reinvent the wheel each time. And so in my weekly planner that I keep for business and life, for example, doctor's appointments and things like that, I would take those yellow sticky notes and I would put them every week into the planner when I was done. So when I started planning for 2024, it occurred to me I had all of that information bogged down with the rest of my life information. So I went back and I grabbed all those journals. I took out all of my garden notes from those journals and I put them in a journal that is going to be dedicated only to gardening. So this will be my yearly garden planner. As you can see, it says 2023. And that's because plants don't really care if you plant them on a certain date. They care that you plant them in a certain week. So That's why I think the weekly planner is easy. So when you're talking about timing, the most important thing to kind of get right is knowing your first and your last frost dates. So your last frost date is going to be sometime, if you're in this northern hemisphere where we are, sometime in the spring, and the first frost is going to be sometime in the fall. If you live way down south and you don't have a frost date, that's awesome, but you might have issues with when it's too hot to plant. It's a whole nother can of worms to open, but so to find your first and last frost date, just Google what's my frost date, and it'll take you probably to the Farmer's Almanac, and it's going to tell you your average taken over the course of, I don't know how many years, probably a lot of years, the average date that you get your last frost in the spring and the average date that you get your first frost in the fall. So for example, my last frost date is, according to the Farmer's Almanac, April 23rd. My first frost date, according to the Farmer's Almanac, is, I believe, October 15th. However, I discovered something by using a website, and I will link it below, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I will show you how I found it in this clip here. So this website is called timeanddate.com. And if you go to the weather tab, it's going to show you a couple of things, but go to past week. And here it's going to give you, I mean, this is good if you want to just journal it when you are putting in your information for the week past. But if you go to select month, it gives you all of these years going back for a very long time. So if I were to go to, for example, April 2023, it's going to tell me if my highs and lows for every day. And going through the months is how I discovered that my last frost was Monday, April 3rd last year. The low was 28 degrees. That's Fahrenheit. And what I discovered is, although rule of thumb is supposed to be April 23rd, the 16th to October 16th, which gives me a growing season of 175 days, last year my actual last frost was April 3rd, and my first frost was November 2nd, with the freeze happening November 20th. That gave me 211 days of growing season. That's 36 days, more than a month more. So I went to 2022. Last frost, was March 30th. First frost was November 15th. That was 55 days more, 230 growing days. 2021 was closer to 2023. 2020 was closer to what the almanac was saying. 2019 was close again to 2021. So I figured at the 5-year average, which would make it April 4th to November 4th, that's a full 2 weeks earlier and full 2 weeks later. So whereas this is usually my average last frost date according to the Farmer's Almanac, this is my average last frost date over the last 5 years. Counting back, this is last frost minus 1, last frost minus 2, last frost minus 3, last month. Okay, so, and back like that. I mark it every week, and I mark it on my yellow sticky notes too. Now, knowing when your average first frost is, which has been in November, So I did the same thing counting back from my new average first frost date, going back from November 4th, -1, -2, -3, -4. So that's important to know, not only for when you want to sow your fall crops, but also when you need to get that frost cloth and those row covers ready so that they're ready to go and you can get out there and protect your plants. So what exactly do I put on my to-do list? Well, I put the year so I don't get it confused with the other years. I write the dates of the week. I put how many weeks to the last frost. Little notes about the weather. It snowed. We got 2 inches. And then I put a list of things that I'd like to get accomplished for the week. And then if I did it or not, I'll check it off. If I didn't, I'll cross it off. And I'll carry it over to the next week. Last week, it rained all week. It's 10 weeks to the last frost. And if you notice, I put down that the cool weather trays that I had sewed inside the house fell off the greenhouse, the brand new greenhouse, and scattered them all over the floor. It was disaster, so I had to re-sow some onions, and I ended up potting up my lettuces, escarole, spinach. I also forced a hyacinth. I've got 3 of them. It's a bit of a challenge I've got going on with the garden club to see if we can get them blooming by Easter, which should be exciting. And I put the mini greenhouse up inside the house with tin foil. Okay, so that's everything that I did last week. And then we get to February. This is all of the past years, 2021, 2022, 2023, and I reviewed those notes. And based on that, this is what I would like to at least sow inside the house in February. And as the weeks go on, I will, Sunday night, put together a list of the things that I want to do for that particular week. So if you've ever used like a weekly planner, you know that they, some of them have pages for notes at the back. Maybe something that, maybe I'll put my goals for 2024 here, which I have in another notebook, but I think I will put them here just to keep them top of mind. And this one even comes with a little pocket. I'm going to put my seed list and the plans in the back here. So that's it. Whether you want to do something like the weekly planner idea, or if you like laying it out on a calendar, or if you've got some other maybe visual way you enjoy doing a garden journal, or you like writing in a book, almost like if it's a diary, it's really just all up to you. But the one thing that I'll tell you is that it really is important to keep notes as you go along. And the more details that you put in, the more you can reflect back on later and say, I can prevent problems, I can treat problems. I'll give you a good example. I had a lot of setbacks with pests, especially varmints, that would eat my my young seedlings. So I've decided I'm actually moving up my sowing dates to get them a little bit bigger before I put them out in the garden. And I'm also going to keep them under cover longer because I think that acts as a deterrent. The squirrels can't find the plants to eat their heads off. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful. I hope your garden planning is coming along. I would love to know what you're doing or what your system is for keeping your garden journal. A lot of this can be done online today, which is also great. As a follow-up actually to my last video on using the garden planner software from Farmer's Almanac, I have to tell you that I should have checked before I said one particular thing, is that I wish the interface with the phone was better and that I'm kind of always doing things on the computer. Well, sure enough, I logged on and they had a new feature that said, you know, like an update that said, you know, new phone app, and here are the instructions on how to do it. I checked it out, And that's going to be really great for keeping even more detailed notes that I might not need to write down, and I could just do it on the phone in the garden. That would be great. I do hope that your garden planning is coming along, and I don't know if you've started seeds yet, but I've started just a few. I'm going to really get at it more in February. I would love to know your method of keeping a gardening journal. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. I would love to hear in the comments section below any ideas that you have for your garden journals. And I hope you subscribe and share this with some people who might be interested in gardening. And from the Ladies Garden Home, enjoy your gardening journey. Bye! Say goodbye, lady. Oh, Fluffer. Say goodbye. Fluffer and lady say goodbye.